at the end of it, when we won that silver medal, the head coach turned to me and said, I hope you were a big part of this, and like thanked me for being there and doing that. And that meant a lot to me, and it stuck with me. And it's something that I try to pay it forward a little bit. You can contribute without being on the field.
At the field, in your car, or on the couch, get your fast pitch info from the coach's mouth. Welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast with your hosts, Jay Bolden and Ken Kraus.
Hello and welcome to From the Coach's Mouth. This is our softball podcast talking about all things related to fast pitch softball. I'm Ken Kraus from Softball Success. With me today is my buddy Jay Bolden, Be Bold Fast Pitch, as well as a coach at St. Xavier University here in the Chicago area. Hi, Jay.
Hello, everybody. Hey, how you doing, Ken? Hello, everybody. Thanks again for joining us this week. Super excited about our guest this week. Has some serious softball knowledge. Definitely somebody that's been around for a while. And I can't wait to get this episode going. Ken, but before that, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Things are rolling along. It's the start of high school season here in Illinois. So it's been kind of a light week of lessons for me as the girls are out there doing their tryouts and all of that.
How's the weather up there in Chicago?
Cold. Cold. We got a little bit of snow last night, blowing snow, icy, all that kind of good stuff. The stuff that we love about living here in this area.
Oh, yeah. So then it must be the start of the high school season since all that weather is coming in.
Exactly. It's a funny thing, sometimes the parents will say, I was looking at the schedule and they have so many games scheduled and a lot of games here in March. And I said, they just do that in case there's a nice day. But they schedule those with the expectation that they're going to lose them. So,
yeah. Well, let's hope the weather cooperates for both the high school seasons coming up. So, hey, Ken, why don't you do us a favor and give us some background on our amazing guest that we have for us this week?
All right. Well, our guest today has a very broad and interesting background. His love of fast-pitch softball started early when he served as a bat boy for his family's team in Michigan, a team that was coached by his father and uncle and included his brother and cousins. Nice to have a little family business going there. He later became a player himself, playing at the highest levels of men's fast pitch, including the U.S. men's national team. Among his achievements with Team USA was winning a bronze medal at the 2022 WBSC Softball World Cup in Auckland, New Zealand, which is the first medal the U.S. had earned in that competition in 22 years. In his collegiate years, he also was a baseball pitcher at Delta College, where he played on the school's first varsity team. He later returned to Delta to launch his coaching career as a volunteer assistant for the softball team. From there, he served as a pitching coach at several schools, including Davenport University, Western Michigan University, and the University of Toledo. He has also worked as a private instructor. This year, he has returned to his home state as he starts his first season in the big chair as the head softball coach at Jackson College in Jackson, Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm From the Coach's Mouth welcome to Jon Gwizdala. Hey!
Thanks for having me.
Thanks again for joining us today, Gwiz. I really appreciate your time. I know you're busy. We're all busy. So putting this together today was just was a chore itself. But, man, I can't thank you enough for the time you're going to give us today. So if you don't mind, I want to jump right in if you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So if you don't mind, just give us a little bit of explanation or tell us a little bit about like how your sports journey began, where you started playing baseball, did you play in high school, and then where did the men's fast pitch thing kind of start for you?
Well, yeah, as you said there, I was a bat boy growing up, right? Even in baseball, I was following my dad coached my older brother, so I was always the ballpark rat, just running around chasing foul balls, bothering people, making people play catch. And that's how softball started. I started throwing on the side when I was a bat boy. I was playing catch with people. and making them catch me and trying to figure out how to pitch on my own with my dad teaching me in our spare time. And then he came home from a coach's meeting one day at a 16 and under tournament that my brother was playing in. I was a bat boy, and came home from the coach's meeting with a Dunham's bag with new cleats and some ball pants and a hat and shirt from one of the coaches of a 10U team, and said, you're playing tomorrow. So that's where it started. Never really looked back. Played baseball and softball the rest of my life until after my sophomore year of college, and hung up the baseball hat and traded in for full-time softball.
Did you originally grow up out in Sioux City, Iowa, or were you just out there for a tournament? Or
so that's the interesting thing. There was no like youth fast pitch in our area, and I think there was some out there because that was commonly a place that would host the boys fast pitch nationals. So they would have 10 and under, 12, 14, 16, and 18. And so it was in Iowa, Missouri, South Dakota, pretty much every year. And there was nothing around here. So I'd play Little League Baseball or Pony League in my high school, and then just practice for a few weeks just on my own, play some catch with a buddy, and go out and play nationals with a team from Missouri or South Dakota or Iowa. And until I got enough buddies around here, probably more high school, started taking 16 and under teams full of local kids that were high school baseball players, and some kids that just wanted something to do in the summer.
Was it difficult? You were pitching for both. So was it difficult going between fast pitch softball and baseball?
I think the biggest thing that made it doable for me was how much time my dad and I put in when I was young. When I was, 12, 13, 14, I was throwing a couple hundred pitch bullpens at times, getting ready for going out and throwing 4 games, going out and throwing all weekend. Because I didn't have games to get ready. I didn't have a buildup. And so I got a lot of reps in, and I built some good movement patterns. And once I got to high school, I didn't do both. I did baseball, and then softball was my summer thing. And so I would only play softball a couple times a year. So it was I didn't really do both until I was in college. At the same time, at least, I was baseball, then softball growing up. And so it was challenging for sure. But I think the only way that I could have done it was the amount of reps that we put in when I was younger. It was like riding a bike.
So you could just kind of walk into it and just start going.
Yeah.
Funny thing about that with practicing, right?
Right.
John, you said your dad played a lot too. What are some of the teams that he played with back in the day? Who are some of the people he went up against?
So he would always tell me that he just played local ball and all that. So every town had their leagues back in the day, and he didn't play a ton of the higher level travel stuff, from my understanding, until my dad and uncle ran teams later on into the later 90s, earlier 2000s, where they would have a bunch of young guys, and my uncle would bring in a couple of young foreigners. And during league stuff, before the foreigners got here to pitch, my dad would help out, and my brother and cousins would pitch. And if they needed somebody to go in that wasn't a young hothead and just throw some strikes, my dad was gonna go give them innings. And then we had a pitcher actually get detained at the border because he was from Australia and his paperwork wasn't renewed in time for him to go into Canada. And my dad had to pitch in a world tournament. And
oh, wow.
Without anticipating it, he was going to coach. And
wow.
Hope you brought your glove, because you're pitching tomorrow against the Farm Tavern and Broken Bow, who I'm not sure if you're familiar with either of those teams, but they were.
Oh yes,
they were legit. Yeah, I know. I heard you guys talked with Rick about the Farm. So
oh yeah,
yep.
But Broken Bow was one of the teams for a few years. I think they were the champs that year. My dad got to open up with them.
How did he do? Did he hold his own?
He did. He held his own for a time or two through, and then kind of hit the fan. But I was still proud. It was the coolest thing in the world for me to see him out there pitching against a team that, at the time I didn't know like the legends in terms of the players, but I knew they were legit.
Yeah. Yeah, you could probably see that just watching them.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting too. I don't know. I think, for at least a portion of our audience, they're not even aware that men's fast pitch is a thing. Has it been something that, you've had to, you've been trying to promote? Is it tough to find players, or do you think it's got a chance of maybe growing?
So I do try to promote it. I try to, get some players involved and get players onto teams and in leagues that already exist. I probably need to do more of it personally. I'm on the Boys and Men's Fast Pitch Committee that is hoping to help keep it afloat and promote it for USA Softball, actually, as a player rep. So, yeah, we do try, right? I had a young kid reach out to me the other day asking about a league here in Michigan and if I could get him in touch with somebody to put him on a team. So it's still going. There's a few leagues here in Michigan and a couple other states around the country you have pretty good pockets of it.
Let's. I want to jump back into a little bit of your playing days back there at Delta State, if you don't mind, with baseball. Any memories from back in that day that you want to share with us, or just something that sticks with you and resonates over the years, that something that you took away that's helped you maybe even as a coach during that time that you didn't even know?
Yeah, honestly, it was a really interesting experience because it was a junior college baseball in Michigan, similar to my setting that I'm coaching in now, right? But my first year, we were a club team. It was our last year as a club team, and I actually took over for somebody that had moved on as our club president as a freshman. And then I was a starter. Well, I started a lot of games at first base or pitching. I didn't play first base in high school. I was a PO in high school. So, but I swung in softball. So I wasn't completely unfamiliar with that, aluminum thing that they put in my hands. But I call them stretching sticks now as a PO.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah,
But
that's great.
no, I went from a guy that was in the lineup every day, starting every other game, to my sophomore year. We had some scholarships. We had a lot of guys that were recruited, and we were a lot better team. And so I was a bullpen guy that didn't throw a ton of innings, very sparingly used. So I went from in the lineup all the time to on the bench a lot, and that has helped me as a coach. Honestly, I've been that guy in softball as well. I've been the best player on the team. I've been the guy that sits on the end of the bench and waits his turn, or just cheers everybody on and does what they can as a teammate. So I've been where my players are, wherever they are. But the memories that I take, and the same thing I try to impress upon my players, is like, yes, I remember some games, some wins and some losses vaguely, but I remember the people. I remember the connections I made. I remember, the travel. I remember working fundraisers, and like the fun that we had behind the scenes, just kind of goofing around at some of the fundraisers, like the tedious stuff that you have to do that you don't really want to do in the moment. Like, that's the stuff I remember. So when our girls don't want to do fundraisers, I'm like, listen, I get it, but just make the best of it, because you're going to look back and remember going through all that stuff that you thought was nonsense, and laugh and look back on those memories fondly.
What do you think was your biggest takeaway? So, when you were, say, a bench player, what did you pick up there? What was something that really stuck with you that has impacted your coaching throughout your career?
Well, some of my early experiences with the national team, I had, we won a big game. I don't remember where it was. I think it might have even been the silver medal. We won the silver medal at Pan Am's, and I was an alternate, so I couldn't even suit up. I threw some bullpens throughout the week just to stay ready in case of an injury and things like that, and to vent some frustration. Throw a ball pretty hard a couple times just to feel good about something. And at the end of it, when we won that silver medal, the head coach turned to me and said, I hope you were a big part of this, and like thanked me for being there and doing that. And that meant a lot to me, and it stuck with me. And it's something that I try to pay it forward a little bit. You can contribute without being on the field. You can contribute by keeping the energy up, by helping your teammates have their stuff, by doing all those things to keep people in the game, by paying attention to patterns from their pitchers or ours, and all the different things in between. There's a lot more to it than just those 9 players out on the field. Every single person in that dugout can be contributing to the success or lack thereof of a team. More often it's the lack, right? Like, if you don't have the dugout, the 9 starters, as soon as there's a struggle, you're done. If you've got a good dugout, you've got a good support system, it's easier to bounce back. And so that was one of the biggest things that I took away. And I try to help keep that dugout in check myself, and encourage those players and let them know, like, you have value. You are more than just a softball player, but you're a great teammate.
So what was the transition like going from player to coach? I mean, you'd been playing, and even if, you described, being on the bench, but that's a little bit different still. It's a different expectation. How did you feel, when all of a sudden you found yourself actually, actively coaching?
It's hard, right? You look out there and you see somebody struggling, and you can't just go out there and do it. You can't just throw the ball for them. And that's the first time that's ever been the reality where, like, there is nothing I can do physically to just help take over. I have to give them the tools. I have to give them the skills. I have to help them be mentally prepared to go into these situations. And, you take your experiences, right? All of the different things I've gone through as a player, and help them, try and learn from your mistakes or learn from your successes by sharing the experiences and the perspective. But as much as we're in control, right? It's our program. We run things. We don't have control over outcomes as coaches a lot of the time, and it's the cool thing, but it's also kind of the frustrating thing, especially early on when it was like, I can't just throw the strike for you. So that was the biggest adjustment. Was like the itch to just go out there and pitch. When we get into a bind, it's like, gosh, I just want to go throw some strikes right now because we can't get across the plate, or anything like that.
So the other thing I was wondering about with that was, did you have, would you say you had more natural ability? When we talked to Lauren Hager last week, she was talking about her transition to coaching and just how she couldn't understand how somebody couldn't just do something. She said, I was always able to just do it. Was that you? And was it difficult then to try to figure out maybe somebody that didn't have that ability naturally to explain how to do what you were trying to get them to do?
I think yes and no, right? Like I would say yes. I can usually kind of just do it and figure it out when it comes to, like, pitching, at least, right? But as a hitter and even as a baseball player, there was a lot that I really struggled with to be able to do it. So I understand that too. The biggest thing to me right now, and it still frustrates me to this day, is the inability to see spin.
Oh.
And I just don't understand how you can't tell what your ball is doing. I do now, but it's still like, just watch it.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that I feel like, and I don't know that it's natural, right? It's not like, oh, I just can do it and I've always been able to. It's because I've done it since I started, right? And
right.
I'm giving lessons to 10, 12-year-olds right now, and, like, pay attention to what your ball is doing, and always pay attention to it forever, because it'll catch up to you if you don't.
Gwiz, I want to ask you a quick question here, and I think this will kind of lead into what you're talking about a little bit here too. Now, you learned how to pitch, right? You didn't go for lessons, did you? No, your dad didn't say, "Hey, let's send you to this certain guy because he's going to teach you how to throw a ball and spin the ball," right? Did you do that? Did your dad send you someplace, or did you just kind of figure things out, as you're warming up, as you're working with your dad a little bit, throwing in the backyard, or to your buddies that you talked about? How did that work for you?
It was 99% that second part, right? Playing catch with my buddies, goofing around, throwing with my dad. I always felt like changeups are the biggest thing. That's like a super personal thing. It's like person to person, they vary. That was just like, I'm just going to play catch and figure it out. I'm just going to goof around with different grips and different, releases and try and figure it out. But I did go to Doug Gillis used to be asked by some local guys and some other pitchers would do clinics from time to time at different events. So it'd be like not lessons, but like go to a clinic. They just show up to a park and work with some pitchers. So I went to a couple clinics, probably 3 or 4 over the years when I was younger. And then I went to Doug maybe twice as like a check-in before I went to a tournament at one point when I was a teenager, just trying to work through a couple things. And then my uncle hooked me up with Jimmy Doyle, who I'm not sure if you've heard of, but from most accounts, Jimmy Doyle was one of the best rise ball throwers for a long time, and he pitched forever. And he was just a competitor and a gamer. But my uncle tried to get me with Jimmy to help me work on figuring out how to throw a rise ball when I was a young teenager, because I struggled with it. It's still not my best pitch, but it's better, I guess, than it was, I hope. So yes and no. I did go work with a couple people, that were quote unquote experts, right? And I went and did do that to try and refine some things or break down some walls that I wasn't necessarily progressing through naturally with playing catch and trying to figure it out. But for the most part, yeah, it was like, hey, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to learn this. I worked with my dad and we just threw. We played catch and worked on feeling smooth, and that's what it was,
And I think the reason I asked you that is just because, and I'm sure you realize this too, working with some people doing instruction. I get the goofiest looks when I tell kids and parents, hey, I want you to just play catch underhand with your dad today. And they look at me as if I have like 4 eyeballs and 4 ears. And I'm like, you have to feel what's going on. And it also helps you read your spin. And they look at me, I'm like, you're a pitcher. Why would you not be playing catch underhand just to see how you feel with what's going on, how your body's moving, where your foot's going to land when you throw and play catch underhand instead of just pitching? And, I think, those are some takeaways that I use with them all the time. And it's just the looks I get is just incredible. And I'm like, does this make sense? You're a pitcher. This is what you should be doing, how you learn. So that's kind of why I asked you that, and I also think too a little bit, and, I'm going to get into your coaching background here a little bit too. I think in the softball world, Ken and I have a really good friend, and I think you might know him, Darren Dubsky. He made a comment one time in this group that we collaborate with, that the difference between baseball players and softball players is that there's too much hand-holding going on in softball. Baseball, and especially during the summer in the men's, when you watch the men's game, you're not going down to talk to your third base coach when you got runners on first and third. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's why I asked you. I was like, sometimes I always say, you guys, you got to kind of figure it out and go and put this time in yourself. And I feel like at the softball level, I agree with Darren. Like, I really feel like, we almost handhold them a little too much. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that's the quote unquote natural ability is like, do you move naturally? Can you just play catch? Do you just play catch? That's a huge point. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is something that I try and make our kids do, and even college girls. They'll come in and I'm like, let's just play some catch. And they're like, what? And they get super robotic and mechanical, and they got to go through their full pre-pitch delivery to play catch. And I'm like, no, we're playing catch. So, it is a skill, I guess, and it's something that we work on, and it does help you just move naturally. It's like, I want to see what you actually move like, not what you think you should be moving like when you're trying to be a robot. And that is huge. But one of the things that I actually heard Trevor Bauer talk about the same thing in baseball with pitchers. And he's like, I watch how middle infielders warm up and they just go play catch, and they're moving and throwing on the move and just like catch it. You catch it down low, you throw it down low. Like, they throw from different arm slots, they throw off balance. And that's how they're able to, like, you take a position player and you put them into pitch and they can throw strikes. Pitchers can struggle to throw strikes more than a position player at times. And it's because a position player is just used to just throwing off balance and off schedule. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. And so many pitchers, if anything's not right, if it's not perfect, I can't pitch. I don't know how to make an adjustment. I don't know how to just overcome that little imperfection in my motion right now. And it's because I don't just play catch. I don't throw off balance ever. I don't throw when my timing's a little bit off ever, because I don't just goof around. I I'm a robot.
Yeah. Well, how many softball pitchers have you seen that struggle to, they get a comebacker and they struggle to throw it to first base? They got to throw it 30 feet.
That happens sometimes, I'm better when I got to throw 50 or 60 feet than I am when I got to throw 20 or 30. I'm better off taking a step than flipping it. I'm going to fire a strike at their shins from 30 feet away, and they're not going to be happy.
So you got to have a good first baseman there.
Yeah.
It's funny, John, I'm going to bring this up. When I saw you out in South Bend a few years ago when you were pitching, and I'm watching I forget what other team was out there playing. And I saw a play made by the first baseman where the ball kind of squeaked away from him. He grabbed that ball and he didn't even throw overhand. He just threw it. He threw a strike to the catcher underhand for a perfect play for a tag out at home plate. And I was just floored. I'm like, that's it right there. That guy, that's all he does when you're warming up. He's picking up and they're chucking it underhand, everybody. And it was a strike. If he would have tried to throw that overhand, he probably would have missed and never would have got to play at the plate. It was awesome. It was fantastic to see things like that. And that's, I think, what you're talking about. Like, mess around a little bit. I think that's a great thing.
Exactly.
If you don't mind, I do want to start getting into when you got involved in coaching at the softball level. You went to Central Michigan and you were a volunteer coach there. What were some of your roles there at Central Michigan? And how was it moving from that baseball side to softball? I'm guessing pretty easy since you did both, but go ahead and let us know about that experience.
So I was actually a practice player there. So didn't really do coaching. If I noticed things here and there, I would tell Margot, Coach Yonker, legend at CMU. She told me, if I noticed anything, like to let her know, and we'd talk through it. And there were a couple times where she'd be like, "All right, yeah, you go ahead and tell her that." And then there are other times where she'd just kind of take note of what I was saying. But no, I mostly caught bullpens. I threw batting practice occasionally, and just watched and observed and was part of practices. So I got to see how things ran at that level and how, practices were structured and how they went about their business as a business. And, took that and compared it to my own baseball background. Like my high school, Bay City Western High School, we had great baseball and softball. They still do. My practices there were more structured than my college practices, and they were more structured than some of the college practices I've been a part of as a coach. And so those things kind of helped me in transitioning into being a coach. Is like, I've seen practices of different levels be organized different ways. And I've seen things that I like and don't like and taken them and run with them. But working under Margot there, and Jessica Bracamonte, who was my head coach at Toledo, really helped, see how they just conducted themselves and how they interacted with their players was the biggest thing.
And then did they give you any kind of, sort of training or intro to this, sort of ease you into it or give you guidance along the way? Or was it more you just kind of observed and synthesized?
A lot of trial by fire and trial by error, right? A lot of just figuring it out. Even when I started with Delta, I worked at the outfielder some. I hit the worst fly ball fungo in the world for a few days, and then kind of got better and figured it out, and worked on drop step drills and some stuff with catching balls over their shoulders on the run and things like that. But that I saw some of the outfielders that I played ball with doing, and tried to take it from there. And there's YouTube and books and stuff out there, but just trying to figure it out. And then as I went into when I got started in coaching full time, I was teaching high school science and giving lessons. And the guy that ran the facility that I gave lessons out of got a phone call. He gave me a phone call at like 9:30 at night. I was like, I'm in bed. I'm an old person in a young person's body. And he's like, listen, I got a call from the new head coach at Davenport University, and they asked if I knew anybody who'd be interested in being a pitching coach. And I gave her your name, if that's okay. And I'll let her know and she can call you tomorrow. And went from there and started out as a full-time coach. And it was really like, figure it out. But she was very demanding in a good way in terms of like, you had to have the practice plan figured out and explained. Like I had to explain the practice plan for pitchers daily to her and the other assistant coach, and they explained what they were doing in turn with, the infielders, outfielders, and hitters. And it was like we all talked through all parts of the practice plan, so we knew exactly what it was going to be, which really probably helped me have to make sure I wasn't flying by the seat of my pants, because I'm a big improv guy. I can work with things on the fly, and it made me not do that, which was good, but I still had the ability to do that if needed. But I wasn't doing it every day.
When you put together a practice plan now, do you, like when I used to coach teams, I would actually put times in there. I'd say from, 4 o'clock to 4:15, we're going to do this, 4:15. And it didn't always work out, but at least it gave me something to track. Do you do things like that?
Yeah. I try my best to, right? At times right now, we have a little bit more free flow stuff and less timing. And we just kind of rotate off of, and I pick kind of which drill we're rotating off of, like which one I think is going to be the time demand one. These ones you're just doing for reps, and this one you're doing for the amount of reps I give you. And however long that takes is how long it takes, and then we rotate in. But I do like trying to lay it out time-wise. The best laid plans, though.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm in the middle of a big adjustment right now with that, and trying to practice plan for the number of kids I had on my roster this year was something that I thought would be easier than it was. I would come up with all these great grand schemes and get to practice and have one or two people missing from our team, and with our small roster size, I was like, well, I am not able to do that or that, so let's figure something out here really quick. So that was a struggle for me this year so far, but we're getting better.
How many kids do you have on the roster?
I'm at 11.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had an interim coach last year who they did a great job with what they had. They had 11 girls and got through a season. Then I think they went like 21-20 or 20-19. They were like a game above 500, and they got through it well. But we didn't really have much recruiting coming in, and I got hired fairly late, so recruiting was pretty much done. Like I got hired, and it was time for practice, and so getting people in wasn't really a thing I could do. I shook a few trees, but nothing came out, and so we're at 13 to start the year, and then ended up with 11 after break. And one of our players is actually doing great at a NAIA school right now. She got a spot, at the semester break and had to take it. And, I can't really fault her. It's a great opportunity for her to go to a 4-year. That's one of my biggest goals. She's actually doing really well right now. She's off to a great start. So really proud of her and happy for her.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that.
So, John, I want to talk to you real quick, just a little bit, since you brought up a little bit about recruiting. I want to talk to you, if you can, give us some experiences or your thought process when you were at Toledo, when you were out looking for pitchers, compared to how maybe that's changed or it hasn't changed now as being a head coach at Jackson.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest changes is I'm trying to kind of reinvent a whole staff all at once right now. But when I was at Toledo, you always try and recruit to, fill what you already have and make it the best you can and make it better, right? So taking our staff that we had that we were recruiting to try and bring people in to join, and projecting out like where our freshmen and where our incoming freshmen will be and what everybody's going to look like. We kind of had to try and, you want to recruit complementary pieces. You don't want 4 or 5 of the same pitcher per se on a staff, because that can, if it's a bad matchup, it's a bad matchup for everybody. And you don't want that. So trying to get complementary pieces, and then recruiting kids that could work within a staff and be good teammates was one of the most important things for us there. Seeing how they competed and went out there and, we wanted kids with a chip on their shoulder a little bit, and kids that had the athleticism and the physical ability to compete at that level, but also, the mentality to go out and, fight and try and beat somebody that's supposed to be better than them. And, I still want that here. You always want that for for your kids is you want to have somebody that's going to want to compete and go out and be happy with being the underdog and be happy with beating up on somebody too. But really trying to bring in athletes that could do a lot of things has been important to me here. Whereas at Toledo, especially, we're trying to take that team to the World Series, right? That's everybody's goal. That's my goal here. Was my goal there. It's a little bit different World Series. When you're looking, NCAA Division I, trying to go out and we want to see Oklahoma, right? And so you got
yes and no.
You got to get kids that want to go do that. Not everybody's that kid, and so that was the challenge. There was trying to get kids that believed in that mission and bought in, and weren't just happy to go play, but they wanted to go prove a point and do something cool.
You talked about that with being at the Division I level. Now you're in a junior college. Has that been an odd transition? I know you started, Delta was a junior college as well, so it wasn't totally unfamiliar territory. But was it, now that you've had the taste of the D1 life, what does it feel like now coming back to the junior college level, and what's different? What's been challenging? It's
a little tough. The biggest challenge has been, the expectations that players have for themselves and the standards that they're accustomed to. I don't see a reason that we shouldn't have great expectations for ourselves wherever we are. There's a lot of reside to the fact that we're just a JUCO that you can get. I'm not saying it's everywhere, and not saying it's everyone, but I've seen that as a possibility. I've seen that as a potential thought process at times, and that's something we've had to work through, and we've had to try and grow out of, and it's something that I'm trying to change as our culture here, and get more kids that believe, and more kids that want to be a dog. I'm going to fight, I'm going to scratch, I'm going to claw, I'm going to be better than the next kid over, and I'm going to prove that I belong. That's been my biggest struggle, is the expectation. Like, we're okay with not being good, and we don't expect ourselves to be good, is the mind-boggling and agonizing one for me.
Is your ultimate goal to be, to kind of be viewed as a conduit to some of the bigger programs? To say, a kid that comes in, maybe isn't quite ready for a 4-year school yet, comes in, plays a couple years for you, gets themselves ready, and then you would be able to help them land at perhaps a bigger school than they might have just, going straight out of high school?
Really, I do see that as, kind of a goal, and a realistic one, honestly. I've spent a lot of time coaching at really competitive Division II school and pretty darn competitive Division I schools, some really strong mid-majors. I've seen those levels, and I know what it looks like, and I know what it takes, and I can help you get there, and I can help you kind of find where that is that you might fit. And also, you're not going to face much better pitchers than you're going to see in practice hitting off of me live. You're not going to work with many better pitching staffs than we're hopefully going to have. And I do feel like I've had some modest success at Division II and Division I levels as a pitching coach. Like, I don't see why we can't get those players that maybe they're a really strong D2 player, but they want to be a D1 player, and it's not there for them. Hey, come on out and let's coach you up. Let's get you where you want to be.
I will say this for anybody who is listening. I have 2 2025 commits that are going to Toledo, and as a pitching instructor, knowing where they're going and who they're going to be with, for me, is something that's probably at the top of my list. And if anybody is listening that wants to get better specifically at pitching, but just in general with softball, then you need to make sure that you check out Jackson College with Jon, because my 2 pitchers that committed to go to Toledo were ecstatic and loved Jon's feedback, helped them with some of their pitches, all that stuff. So if anybody listening to this is, down that route, they're thinking about junior college and they're looking to get better, then look no further than Jon, because I'll tell you what, no, I don't want to say this bad, but when you left, I had some very concerning pitchers that were nervous, and they're happy with Kyle. They like Kyle is great too, and Jess is fantastic. But knowing that they were going to be in great hands with you, really, I think helps sell the deal for them. And they're excited about Kyle as well. But just speaking, if anybody's looking for that junior college route, which is a great route to have, and really looking to get better as a pitcher, then really check out Jackson College. You will not be disappointed in what Gwiz will do for you. So just wanted to give you a little plug there, John, because my kids were super excited when you were there, and the feedback every time they came back from there. And it's not just them, it was others that went to some of your camps. You would always give great feedback and tips and things to work on. And I was like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. Somebody who's looking to make these kids better in the next 4 years that they're there.
Well, I really appreciate that. Those are really, really great words to hear from you and to hear about hearing from them. I was very excited for both of those kids. That made my day both times I heard that they were coming, right? Like when they committed, it was phenomenal news, and I was very excited for them, and I am still very excited for them. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what that team can do these next couple of years. They're going to be really strong next year, and they're strong this year, and I'm really excited for them. But Coach Brock, Jess, is one of the best coaches of people I have ever worked with. She is a phenomenal culture builder. She's a phenomenal coach, working with the outfielders, working with the hitters, but just working with the people and helping them grow off the field as individuals and as teammates, as students, as people. That's bar none. I aspire to be more like her in my day to day, but they're in phenomenal hands with her. And Kyle's, like you said, Kyle's great. So they're going to be in really good hands. I'm excited for that group and to see what they can do. Oh, and Kayla is also phenomenal. She's a great coach of people as well. She's a big part of that culture. And
you guys, it was just a great staff. I mean, and it still is, but it was great. All of you guys there. If you don't mind, I do want to fast forward a little bit, and I want to talk about your experiences with Team USA and what that meant to you. If you can tell us maybe some memories about that run. What was it like when you found out you were going to be a part of that team, and then that team comes together and wins a bronze medal, which is huge for men's fast pitch. If you can share some of that with us.
The very first time I put on that uniform, my first start was against New Zealand, who was coming off of, was it back to back, or they were the defending world champs, and the boogeyman, right? They were it. They're intimidating. But I actually got asked like the week before, like I think I had maybe 10 days before that tournament. Like it was quick. It was an invitational tournament. It was coming up after an ISC, and I threw a game at ISC that went the other way. I think we lost like 1-0 or 2-1, but it was a tight game, and I guess I was told a couple years down the road after that was what kind of got me on the radar. Was they were waiting to play their next game. Some of the coaching staff for the men's team were coaching their club team there, and they saw that and were like, we should see what this kid's got. And I got to go to an invitational and got to start against New Zealand, and I was very disappointed in myself. We lost like 5-2. I thought I was the worst pitcher in the world after leaving that game, giving up a couple big home runs. I was like, man, but learned a lot from it and got invited back to participate in the World Championships the next 2 cycles. Didn't start a game in that next one. Came in relief 3 times, I think 2 or 3 times. And then that bronze medal run was incredible. It was so cool to be part of that team, and I was kind of the veteran pitcher, honestly, in that staff. I was on the team the longest, but
how old were you at that point?
Oh shoot, 29 maybe 29, 30. There's a young pitcher. He's in his early mid-20s. Is Bradley Kilpatrick. He's a pitching coach at Washington right now, an emerging star in the coaching scene. Really, he's having a lot of success with their pitching staff right now. He's in his early mid-20s, and he was our horse that week. We were just doing our best to keep him in the dugout when we could, so he could go out there and give us all he had when we needed him. And he threw the best game I've ever seen him throw by a long shot. And that's not a slight. He threw a whale of a game in the bronze medal game against Argentina. Anytime we'd get in a little bit of a pinch, I was, throwing in the bullpen, trying to get loose to make sure I was ready to go. And coach just yells down to me, he needs you in here, because I'm the loud, obnoxious, go get him teammate. I'm that guy. I'm the biggest cheerleader on the team. He says he needs you in here. This is his game, and he was right. It was he locked down and just shut that team down, and they were a phenomenal team. Argentina, they're still one of the best teams in the world, but he had their number that day, and it was a great time. My biggest
Patrick, he moves the ball so well. Like, he's got the speed too, but man, does his ball absolutely move.
He does, and he's one of the. It's not as uncommon as it actually once was. There was a time ages ago where curveballs. Mike Piechnik threw a great curveball. But a lot of the best pitchers in the men's game are up, down, change. Bradley uses his curveball effectively a lot. He uses it really well, and so does kind of the new number one or number two pitcher in the world from Australia as well, Jack Besgrove. He uses his curveball phenomenally, and his rise ball and his curveball come off of each other, and you don't know which one's which until it's either a strike or it jumps above your head. Or hits you in the ribs as a lefty. But
you do not want to get hit by him.
No, he throws hard. I will never view a sporting event the same. Like, standing for the national anthem at a sporting event it doesn't feel the same, and it never will. Since putting on that uniform and standing there for that first time, you get emotional almost. You get choked up, and it's a great point of pride, and something I'll forever be grateful to have had the chance to do. I'm not going to be competing in the World Cup this summer for the national team, and wish them all the best of luck there. We got 3 young horses, and the new format kind of doesn't really necessitate a fourth arm, especially if you've got an 18 or 19-year-old and a 21, 22-year-old and a 24, 25-year-old. They can throw some innings.
Yeah.
So they're poised for success. But watching that Four Nations face-off hockey tournament and hearing Mike Eruzione talk before the game about playing for your country, and I was just like, he nailed it. It was spot on. It's the biggest honor, and it's something that I'll always take a lot of pride in, and it's changed me.
Any thoughts or hopes of maybe coaching with that team someday?
Oh, I would absolutely love to coach with that team someday. That's something that I actually asked our men's team coach about the coaching pool and how it all works for the U19s, for the junior men's team. With working with pitchers and helping people grow, and being closer in age in a good way to try and help spark some interest and get some guys going. I thought that would be something I would really love to try and do, and it'd be a good experience as a coach as well. Like, honestly, it would help me grow as a coach as much as it would help me give back. But you can't be in the coach's pool and the player's pool at the same time. So I'm going to keep my hat in the player's pool for as long as I can. And try and give it a couple more runs at it, but I'm not ruling that out. If they would ever want me to be around as a coach, that would be something I would absolutely trip over myself trying to jump at. So.
Okay, so there you go, selection committee. Jon has put his hat in the ring, not for this year, but for the future. So keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
Jon, one thing I did want to ask you. So, a lot of what you have done in your career up until now has really been just a general assistant or especially a pitching coach. How's that transition been to being a head coach? Has it been difficult to kind of take your eye off of specific aspects and have to look kind of at a much broader spectrum as you go along?
I've thought about it for a few years, not necessarily because I wanted to jump ship and try and be a head coach, but I always thought, like, how would that work? Right. And one of the thoughts that I had was that I want to bring in somebody that either caught or pitched for a team I had coached to be my pitching coach, to help me not have that hang over my head, right? Mm-hmm. To help me feel comfortable letting them run some pitching stuff and work with the rest of the team. Our fall was really weird with we didn't really have a healthy pitcher to start the year. So we had position players audition essentially to throw our fall ball games. And it worked out really well. We got through our fall ball games with really competitive pitching from those kids. They gave us their all and stepped up huge for us.
It's funny because I have a couple of girls that they want to play in college, but they're like, I don't know. I'm kind of done with the pitching thing. And I said, don't totally give up your skills because you just never know. You're never more than a couple of injuries away from the coach coming and say, has anybody here ever pitched and won a game in high school?
Yeah.
Or in travel ball?
We had some moments at Toledo when we lost a kid to med school. And so we wanted to make sure we had some emergency backups prepared before we got to be in emergency situation. So we had a couple kids throw bullpens early on in the spring just to see if they could do it. And then we never ended up having to use them. But yeah, we've been there. So it wasn't anything completely unfamiliar to me, but didn't do a ton of hands-on, like one-on-one time or coaching bullpen sessions because we didn't really have pitchers that were dedicated pitchers to do so. So that almost helped. I wouldn't say it was helpful, but it helped me not focus too much on my pitching coach hat. But I love throwing batting practice now too. That's something that I did a lot at Toledo that I didn't do at many of my stops prior. But I threw a lot of BP there, and I feel like it can be really beneficial. So I tried to do that. I did it a couple times, but I had a torn up knee this summer that I pitched on until the end of the U.S. season. So we played in a game this fall or a tournament this fall, the group stage event. So it's kind of the prelims for the World Cup. And we won our event and qualified for the World Cup. And I was lucky enough to be part of that squad. But 2 days after I got home, I had my knee cut open and worked on. And I spent most of the fall on crutches. So that was more of a challenge than not being able to pitch or work on pitching, right? So trying to coach from that standpoint made it even harder because I'm used to just trying to show a lot. Right. So I had to explain a lot more and explain better. And I feel like I've had to grow this year as a coach, and my tool belt has had to grow because I can't just demo. I can't just show you and tell you how to do it and let you go do it. I really need to be able to explain it more and use more scaffolding to get you there in instruction and break it down into the parts and instruction more so than in showing you. And so it's been good. It's been bad, but it's been good. The focusing on everything outside of the field, on-field stuff, I was pretty confident I was going to be good. I can handle most of that. It's the, scheduling practices, scheduling games. I need to start getting on my schedule more right now to make sure I've got a fair bit of pitching coming in next year, so I need to get us as close to 60 games as I can. And, the fundraising, all of the other hats that head coaches wear. You're the academic, especially at a junior college where you don't have as much for assistants or different departments to lean on. I'm an academic advisor. I'm the strength and conditioning coach at times. I'm all
community liaison.
So it's been an adjustment, but it's been good. We did a lot of things with community and with academics at Toledo, and so that was big. Being able to lean on some of those experiences. And then when I was at the Division II level, I spent a fall as our strength coach for our softball team, and that's what I went to school for. So I was just pulling from all the jobs I've had to do at different times and putting them all together, especially without an assistant coach for the fall. So the learning curve is steep, but it's been a fun challenge and a fun journey so far.
It'd be boring if it was all just easy to do, right?
Yeah. Who doesn't like a challenge? That's why we play this game, right? If it was easy to do, it wouldn't be softball. It wouldn't be
Amen.
bat and ball sport.
Yep. Hey, real quick, first of all, thank you again so much for your time today, Jon. Ken and I absolutely appreciate it, and your knowledge and things that you've put out there for the coaches. We really appreciate that. I've just got a couple more questions for you, if you don't mind. One is, are you playing this summer? Who are you playing for? Are you anywhere in the Midwest that people would go see you actually throw that ball? And then two, where could people find more information about Jackson College or get a hold of you to find out about the junior college that you coach at?
Yeah. So to answer the first one, I'm playing for the Midland Explorers. It's a team that used to be around as a major team in Midland, Michigan, and throughout the Midwest. Kind of went away for a few years, but I worked with a couple people to kind of get it back off the ground and kickstart getting it going here. And we are in our 4th year back, I believe. So I'll be with the Midland Explorers. We're going to be playing in it's a very different summer with the World Cup and the World Games both happening this summer. The World Games are in China this summer, this August, which is normally when our nationals and our club worlds are. So we'll be playing in Kimberly, Wisconsin in early June, and Mankato, Minnesota in July. That'll be our World Cup, or our World Championships for the club teams will be at the end of July. And then we get to play at Oklahoma City at Devon Park in mid-July for the men's nationals. So that'll be huge. We're going to play a pretty short schedule, so just a couple other weekends we're going to be in Ontario, where the game's still a little bit bigger in Canada than it is most of the U.S. But in terms of Jackson College, you can go to jccmi.edu. That's our college's main website, and you can navigate through there. We just got brand new facilities that you can check out as well on the athletics website, which is available through that link, jccmi.prestosports.com. But you can navigate from our main website to the athletics page, and showcases our beautiful new facility.
We'll try to make sure we put that in the notes for you there too, in case somebody's looking and interested.
And I'm on Twitter as well. Pretty easy to find there. That's unfortunately, a lot of recruiting world has gone to Twitter. You almost have to have a presence there now.
What's your handle there?
That's a great question. It's kind of like your own phone number these days. It's like, I know it.
Sorry, didn't mean to stump you.
You never call yourself, right?
Right.
It's at JOGWIZ. Throwback to the AOL Instant Messenger days.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. So, Jon, I just have one more question for you, and it's a recruiting question. You see a lot of talk in Facebook groups and all that about how you really need to watch your attitude and all these other things, and when you're there and you never know who's watching, and a lot of times they say the coaches will pass on a talented athlete if they don't think that they have the character. Is that something you feel is true, or what's been your experience? If you're talented enough, can you be a jerk?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, at a lot of places, there's a scale there. There's a scale of how much of a jerk you can be versus how talented you are. But to be honest, I would rather take 9 great kids, great humans, and try and win with them. One of the biggest things that I truly do enjoy seeing is how a kid responds to failure and how a kid responds to being on the bench or put in a role that isn't necessarily their favorite, right? You're a pinch runner today, or you're sitting on the bench. How are you going to be as a teammate? How can you contribute to the success of your team as a bench player? How do you handle striking out? How do you handle getting hit hard? It's great to go see a kid and watch a recruit dominate, but you don't see anything there because is that a team that you're going to be pitching against in college that you're pitching against right now? Most times, probably not. Maybe 1 or 2 of those kids are at the level that you're hoping to go play, right? So how do you respond when you get rocked? can you handle that? Can you bounce back and get the next kid? Can you bounce back and, cheer on your team and help motivate the rally to come back from the 3-run deficit that you just put your team in, right? And then how do you compete? So those are the biggest things to me, is like, how do you compete? How do you go out there and just refuse to lose, even if you're not the best athlete on the field? And then how do you fail? How do you take failure? Because it's a part of this game. And if you can't fail and stay happy and stay a positive teammate and stay motivated to move forward, then you're not going to be able to compete at the next level. And that's something that kids can learn and they can develop, and you can grow here in that realm. But I'd rather you do it before you come here. And I know, like, how you interact with your coaches and your parents is huge. It is huge, but a big part of that is that same piece, that adversity piece. You can watch them get along really well with their coach and parents when things are going great. It's really easy. Everybody's having a good time when we're all having a good time. But when things get rocky, are you going to be part of the solution or part of the problem when things get tough? And that is huge. That is the reason it's talked about, is because it is real to an extent, and it does exist. So yeah, I look for kids that can bounce back.
Ken, thanks again today, Jon, for all your time and everything you've shared with us. Ken, you got any other questions for Jon before we let him out of here?
No, I don't. I think we've taken up enough of the man's time today, especially I'm sure he's got games to get ready for. So
sort of
games, practices, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on, like I said, and appreciate your time. I know, you guys just still have a lot going on as well. So it's been a great time talking to you, and really appreciate you having me on.
Well, thank you, Jon. And Jay, thank you for setting up with Jon. I think this was a great conversation from the Coach's Mouth podcast. We appreciate everybody listening. Be sure to like us. Be sure to share this with your friends. Lots of good insights here. Try to, get the word out. There's a lot of folks that can learn a lot of things from the people that we're talking to. Jay, good luck in your games.
Thanks, Ken.
Have fun down south down there where it's nice and warm.
We plan on it.
All righty. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon.